Hi, it's Buck the Movie Buff back here again for a part two on The Substance, which I saw last night. And after talks with my family, my wife, my kids, I had a couple more things that came to mind. One of them, the music. I had to look that up by Benjamin Staskansky, or better known as stage name Rafferty. He did the music, which was pretty intense, pretty hip, pretty cool. Yeah, it suits the movie well. Also, in a talk going over the movie and its kind of elements of in your face, some in my family were talking about how it was just kind of grotesque, this and that. And the one word that comes to mind when I think of The Substance is pornographic. And we tend to kind of always have the connotation of pornography or pornographic, meaning a sexual pornography. But when viewing this film, the male characters, the misogynistic ones, there's a pornographic nature to how they eat. And there's a scene at the very beginning, spoiler alert, where Dennis Quaid, not a big one, but it does kind of allude to what his character is. There's this scene where Dennis Quaid is eating early on a lunch with Demi Moore, Elizabeth Sparkle, and he's just like eating these shrimp, and the sound effects are obscene. It's grotesquely obscene how he's chewing on it, and the close-ups, right? Whereas it's sexual pornography. This might be close-ups of intimate areas. It's a close-up of his mouth and him chewing on these shrimps, and you just hear it in an over obscenely exaggerated way. And it really occurred to me that that really describes it well. It's pornographic in nature, and I think intentionally so, to really make that statement about media, what it's become. Also to really, highlight those characters in a way with whom they're becoming or have become in the movie already. Another thing I wrote in the comment area to the part one for The Substance, and I have to go back and edit that to part one. This is part two, is the David Cronenberg film Crimes of the Future with Viggo Mortensen. That movie was intense to watch too, and it's this kind of genre of body mutilation horror that's coming out in the 2020s. Maybe there's something to be said as an allegory for where we are as a society and people not comfortable with themselves, and constantly, as I was saying in part one of The Substance, looking to make a better version of themselves, as that is in the script for The Substance, and in doing so, getting too much plastic surgery and mutilation, in my opinion. And as I also said in part one of The Substance, there's no better artist or better thing for us than Mother Nature, right? Pachamama. And if we think we're better artists, well, I think this movie says differently. So I had to come back for a short, brief part two. I will also remind you guys of the Kubrick collection. And this isn't even my whole collection. It's just a fraction of it. I think I have just about all Kubrick films. But this is one I saw years ago. And I really like the lineup in this. And about 4 of these films, as I said in part one, if you didn't view that on The Substance, that really is a longer 10-minute version. Usually I do these in about 5 minutes, but when it's a good one, it takes a little more. And not even going into too much synopsis, really going into other films, what I think it's an allegory for and a commentary on. But there are definite moments of homage to Stanley Kubrick in that film, and rightfully so. One of the greatest directors of all time in cinema. Check it out. Best movie I've seen yet this year, as an artistic one, I should say. And I owe it to my wife. Yeah, she was the one with this on her radar. She mentioned it to me. It took me a second of reading up on it, and I'm really glad that I did. Okay, that's all, folks.